All right, Diggs, 3-5A Division Two. We got to talk about this district. It's a 9-team district. It's a packed district. It's got teams that were perennial playoff teams in the past, and they came in there and they only had 4 spots. 4-4 made them, but I feel like 5 or 6 could have. Talk to me if you feel like this is going to be an Argyle type district again, or what's going to happen in District 3-5A.
I think it's important to let our podcasters know that this is April 2025. We are not recycling content. This is April 2025, but this district breakdown is going to sure sound a lot like last year because we have a lot of teams that are going to be where they were last year. I want to give you a shout out, Ward, because I remember in 2023 on the podcast, you said you're talking to Coach Rogers back in the day, and he was saying, man, my kids are sophomores right now, but when they're seniors, they're going to be really, really good. And you mentioned that on the podcast. You're like, watch for Argyle in 2025, back in 2023. And this is the 2025 Argyle squad. And this is an Argyle squad that when you just look at what they've got coming back, why are they not going to win the region? They got McGuire Gasperson coming back, who only threw for 2,900 yards last year and 27 touchdowns. What I think Gasperson is going to do in the offseason, I think he's going to implement a better running game, and I think that's going to make Argyle even better. But you might ask, well, why do they even need a running game? Because they've got Watson Bell coming back. He had 1,300 yards last year and 20 touchdowns. They've got Logan Rexroth coming back with 539 yards and 5 touchdowns coming back. But if you get Gasperson and you can't just trust that he's going to be a pocket passer, that's going to make Argyle even more dangerous. And they've got a talented wide receiver who's just a sophomore last year in Julian Caldwell, who had almost 600 yards and 7 touchdowns. So, Argyle looks like they are going to be a team that is the regional favorite. They're going to be the district favorite. I think they're the region favorite. And I think in their head, they're looking right at South Oak Cliff. We kind of talk about these things. We talk about this in April 2025, Ward. I think Argyle is looking to December. They're looking to AT&T, and they've got a squad that can compete this year. And I know just like South Oak Cliff, it kind of looks forward-facing. They're like, okay, we want to get back for the 5th straight time. Argyle has the squad to do it this year, just like you promised us in 2023, Ward. Nostrawardis coming in here.
Nostrawardis. I like that, except it sounds like warts. And I don't have any. There's a pure face here. Anyway, I agree with you on Argyle for sure. And Gasperson got that bonus of playing so much his sophomore year when the injury to the quarterback. Well, he's about as experienced as he gets. I can't wait to see what they got going here. But there's a lot of good running backs in this district. And mainly I want to point to the Mansfield ISD and especially Adarian Nettles over there at Summit. They didn't make the postseason last year. They lost out on their tiebreaker. Timberview did make it. Talk to me about those two Mansfield teams that are traditional powers, but I know Timberview's got a new head coach coming in there.
Yeah, Jacody Coleman is a fantastic coach. He kind of reminds me of Coach Steven Jackson last year from West Mesquite, and he was one of our finalists for Coach of the Year. He was a fantastic coach, and what he did over there in just 1 year was fantastic. I don't know if Coach Coleman is going to have that much of an impact, only because this district is so deep. Every single team, Ward, in this district is returning a quarterback or a talented player at quarterback. They were all juniors last year, and the quarterback that Mansfield Timberview is going to be returning got hurt in the very first quarter of the first game last year against Kimball, Miles Davis, and he is expected to be back, and I know he has something to prove this year. So what is Timberview's offense going to look like with a talented quarterback? We railed on them last year about, man, their defense is so good if they can just figure out the offense. With Miles Davis running that offense and Coach Coleman and his scheming, they're going to have a really good offense. But I'm very high on Mansfield Summit. They are basically returning everybody. And mind you, Ward, last year, they beat Timberview. They lost that 3-way tiebreaker, but they beat Timberview as part of their 3-way tiebreaker. They got Damaris Bird. I remember watching him as a sophomore and thinking, man, if he gets a couple more years of experience, he's going to be really good. He's got to work on the interceptions, Ward. 13 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, but he had 1,500 yards passing. You talked about Adarian Nettles, that dual threat. They're going to have 1,000 yards coming back and 13 touchdowns. They got Dominique Young, 310 yards receiving last year. Their 5 best receivers are returning, Ward. Their leading 4 rushers, so the depth of Summit is all returning. They've got linemen coming back. This is a talented team. I think Summit is going to be competing for the 2nd spot, and I think they're going to take a step up. And Ward, if Summit makes the playoffs, we know what November Summit looks like. They're very dangerous in the playoffs.
That is true. If they make it, another team probably won't make it. And, man, I'm thinking it might be Seguin this year that may not make his postseason.
Yeah, Colleyville Heritage is, I think, the second best team in this district. They lost to Anna last year. They lost to Anna very convincingly. That fourth quarter got away from them. But they got D1 players at the skill positions. They got Bodie Weaver coming back, 1,800 yards last year, 19 touchdowns. They got Gerard Wiley, and I think he's going to be a player we're going to be talking about for the next 2 years. Got a bobblehead watch on him for 2026, 640 yards last year and 5 touchdowns. They've got a talented freshman who's going to be a sophomore, and Samir Johnson. I think I worry about the receiving core as a Braden Blewett when you lose a player like him, and I know that was part of the reason Heritage didn't play so well at the end of the last year is when he got hurt. But I think Colleyville Heritage is going to reload. They got Blake Wendler, and they got a really talented defensive end in Devarius Logan coming back. Colleyville Heritage looks like, for me, they're going to be that 2 spot. And I think it's going to be Seguin, who's the odd team out. But last year, we were very disrespectful to them. I know we made some bulletin board material with saying, it's Arlington Seguin. We kept sleeping on them. But we're sleeping on them with their quarterback coming back. Chevy Andrews had 2,000 yards last year. Kadarius Trotter is back. They've got Jamani Smith, who is a very talented wide receiver, kind of H-back, can go anywhere in that offense. They got Isaac Bly coming back, so 1,000 yards of other all-purpose offense coming back. But I just wonder about the depth of Arlington Seguin, and I worry about the defense. And I just kind of worry about the team speed. When I kind of look at track season, Ward, this is April, we got to talk about track season. I look at what the Mansfield schools are doing, and they are blowing up the track courses right now. So I just trust their depth a little bit more than I trust Arlington Seguin. And another team that I think is going to be in our top 15 when we release our spring rankings and our preseason rankings, I think Burleson is a team ready to take a step up. But in this district, taking a step up, means you just kind of stay at 6. You're just playing more competitive football against the top 5. But they got their quarterback coming back, and Andrew Sparks. Nathan Jackson is a really talented running back. So Burleson is a team I think is going to take another step, and I think they're going to be praying for realignment to get out of this mess, because I think they're ready to make a run as well.
And for me, I feel like the Colony's going to take a step up. I mean, they lost a tough one to Burleson last year. I talked to Rudy Rangel when we did a story on his son, his pitcher Trey, and obviously he's talking about Xavier Green a lot, but he really talked about Kelvin Ayo, one of their offensive linemen. Is it going to be enough to get them even in the playoff conversation?
Yeah, it's tough. And last year, they had the very talented quarterback Carson Cox, but they rotated a little bit. They had a sophomore named Jalen Gaines. And just kind of in that mop-up duty and kind of rotational duty, he had 650 yards last year, and they put him at wide receiver the rest of the time. He had a couple hundred yards and a couple of touchdowns there. So they even got experience at quarterback, even though they graduated one of the few seniors who started last year. And, you talked about Xavier Green, almost 1,000 yards last year. Kendrick McLeodin, he had 750 yards at running back. He's going to be coming back. But again, the Colony's problem when it comes to football has been the depth. We talk about Louisville ISD and how traditionally good they are. Well, the Colony is like the cousin over there that doesn't necessarily get all of the love. So I think, especially in this district, there are districts where I think the Colony could be second and make the playoffs in. But in this district, I think they're going to struggle. And when you look at the other 2 teams in this district, Everman and Grapevine are teams we traditionally talk about as playoff teams in smaller districts, in different districts. And here we're just kind of talking about them as afterthoughts. I think Everman is going to take a little bit of a step up as well because they're returning their 4 leading rushers. Neiman Page had 470 yards last year rushing the ball. They had a dual quarterback with Princeton Roberts and Kendrick Kennedy. Between them, they had 1,200 yards, but they only won 1 game last year. Grapevine had a coaching change. They got Ryan Smith. He was at Midlothian Heritage as an offensive coordinator. He went to the College World. I think he's going to be a year away, but they got Jalen Holmes, quarterback, coming back. But I think they just don't have the skill players to compete in this district. And unfortunately, I'm looking at them at the bottom.
All right, Dix, tell me your 1 through 9 for this district.
It really feels like a 1 through 10, you got the count out here with all these 5A Division II. But I got Argyle number 1. I got Colleyville Heritage number 2. I've got Mansfield Summit number 3. I've got Timberview barely making the playoffs. I've got them at number 4. Arlington Seguin at number 5. Burleson at number 6. The Colony at number 7. Everman at number 8. And Grapevine at number 9.